Hello, I was wrong about two things in yesterday's quick video. One, it was not going to be the last on the matter of botany. I thought, why would I have said that? Uh, I'm getting in too much of a hurry to get on to other stuff. There's something very important yet. And the other was I didn't give you links to two videos about trees, but rather to four. Two about trees and two as I walked along the fence in springtime, which takes me up through the woods and through the pasture. And there I could look at more of the wild, not the planted, purposely planted trees and bushes, but the wild ones. So that was partly because Wayne Frost had suggested that I actually eh, show some of the trees here. Well, I've done that. Uh, all right. Now, what's real important that I turn to is plants, botany, but not the ones that I've planted. And the ones that are, well, to some extent, the ones that are considered real problems, invasive species. When I came here, one of the plants that I went after the fiercest was called bull thistle. It maybe has another name, bull thistle. Now there's very little of it, but it was everywhere when I first came here. Now, other invasive species that I have in my time gone after are multiflora rose, which continues to be a problem. I cut it pretty much all I can. And also, well, more recently than that, autumn olive. Locally, it's called Russian olive, but I guess the right term for it is autumn olive. And it has basically taken over whole fields. My cousin's fields, there were pasture and hayfield at one point, when my grandfather was really trying to farm this. They're completely, it's all almost a monoculture of autumn olive. And it was part of rewilding. That's what they wanted, sort of. Now, the one field of theirs that has been mowed and they make hay, the neighbor makes hay off it and gives me half, thanks to the giving of my cousin to help me to try to keep animals here. So maybe he owns that field now. Anyway, I get most or a lot of my hay from that field. Now it has stayed tame, but without mowing, these plants take over. There are others, but anyway, what I've discovered with pigs is I don't have to be so afraid of plants just taking over. Fields and pastures don't have to be mowed all the time to keep them looking like they're monoculture in a way. I mean, that's the look that fossil fuels has encouraged people to want here, to look like sheep pasture in England. And to do that, pasture even, and certainly hayfields and crop fields, they have to be mowed, even if they're not plowed or sprayed or whatever else or fertilized. They still have to be mowed. I haven't been mowing. And the other thing too is pruning. I'm coming into the time of year where it's the best time to prune, because certain walkways and passageways and going along the fence, it becomes impassable because of the branches and stuff that over the years have just taken over. And it's better now than it had been, but it was over. I'm gaining on that. But the thing is, I'm not mowing. And you might say, well, how can you mow without fossil fuels? With a scythe. That's the way I mow. I've mowed a lot of this pasture and fields with a scythe. Well, last year I barely touched my scythe. Well, you see, before I had cows and horses, and goats did not control these things. And a scythe is fine for the weeds when they're short, or making hay when it's short. But when the stems get tough, the scythe won't cut it. That's where the pruning comes in. And since I realize I don't have to be afraid of that, and so in the summertime, it just looks so weedy here. That's what people would say. I should name these weeds. Maybe I'll do that in one more video here. But one of the things the pigs have enabled me to do is to get access to the ground where I can, with a spade, make my zonjas. Remember my talk, my part of this presentation about water management, and perfectly on perfect contour, zonjas, zajas de infiltración, these ditches that irrigate. I'd already talked about how I irrigated my pastures and fields. Well, that became possible for me without fossil fuels because the pigs tore the sod up enough and loosened the ground enough that I could actually do it with a spade. So, I get cat left some hair. Anyway, the plants, it's a study. I can't name all of these weeds, is what people talk about, but I study them and I look, where do they grow and why do they grow there? And I have learned so much from that book by David Montgomery and his wife Anne Bickley. I had pronounced her name wrong. That's got me more appreciating him. And I think rather than to rush this quite so much, I'll at least give another video to this matter. Bye for now.